So what's left for us to do is to create some sort of an area we can sit on. And that one is going to be interesting. But before we continue, I would like for us to first try to clean up everything we have inside the design. So these are all the pipes. So these parts I select with Shift, right mouse button, create a group, right mouse button, say rename, and for example, backrest. And then maybe from there to there, for example, all this we could call group, and then maybe we say pipes. Good. So you see now our timeline is a lot cleaner. We don't have to scroll so much. Perfect. So for the seating area, this one has a very interesting surface it sits on because it's a little bit organic and tries to flow through it. So let's try to rebuild it the same way. And we make a construction plane. We will go a little bit lower or higher at the moment. Maybe let's say, maybe we'll start first here because I have this and this pipe. There. Okay, good. And then we can create a sketch on in that area. And the first thing I will do is actually intersect this pipe, this pipe, this pipe, and this pipe. And I can hide all these parts. So I see actually now where actually my pipe cross sections would be. Because in my design to the back pipes, I want to get next to it, and here I want to go around it. This also will be a very symmetrical design, so let's try to plan to work nice and efficient. So here maybe I just block some parts out first to kind of like get an idea, and maybe here we have something like this. There, for example, we might have something like this, and here we might have something like this. So actually 3 concave areas and then 1 convex area. Good. So how do we do this so it looks nice and organic? Well, we could, for example, first, what we will do, as always, let's plug in some construction lines, which we then can use for the symmetry. There. Okay, and then symmetry, this point to this line. Perfect. And we can also say the same for you. Symmetry. And then also vertical constraint for these points, so they're nicely centered. Good. These are actually also symmetrical, so 1, 1, and you, also the midpoint. The nice thing about the symmetry, it also keeps the vertical horizontal constraint. It's basically all the same built in. Okay, so when I move this one, it's not only left and right, but also up and down. And now I can play with those a little bit more. There and there. Okay. So here I want to get very close to it. So I can press O for offset and offset this one a little bit off. What was the error message? There was none. Okay. It's the distance. I see. Okay. We can make this a little bit bigger, and then later we can adjust this value for the offset. So I will put this one to there and there and snap it onto the line. And you see, if we do it right, you should get this actually, that coincident constraint, which I didn't for the second one. So I will do this now by hand. Okay. Now I can actually move this one around, and you see it it slides on this arc. So that's pretty good. This was actually 0.09, and I have to do the same on the other side. So you offset. I make this bigger because I want to see the value here. D81, so the name. Double click D81 in my case. Enter. Oh, we have this issue. Okay. Let's see how we can maybe later figure this out. So I know already how we do this now. Okay, good. Now if something like this happens, not a big deal. Sometimes that can be unfortunately the case. I will just undo some steps because there were some extra points I wasn't able to delete there. So we have this circle and I didn't offset. But I can also try to see if there's actually a midpoint from there. Right now I cannot. But I can, for example, try to draw a circle myself a little bit. And you see this is actually not really a perfect circle, so that's fine. Let's say we dimension this circle maybe 1.1, so we get it close. And then maybe let's position it to there. Okay, good. So this circle I will mirror over, use the mirror sketch. This circle mirrored over this line. Okay. And if everything is correct, it should be the same position. And it is. Good. And what I will do now is, you see, I will simply put them to somewhere there. And why did I do this? Well, later when we close the sketch, we will have a close profile, and that we can use to extrude. So I do not coincident them there right now. So this is not necessarily the best if you want to make a fully constrained sketch, but I, for the moment, want to have my sketch to be rather loose and easy to manipulate. So we need to cap this area here. So I will create another spline, maybe 2 points only, and then say tangent U to U and U to U. Okay, that's fine. And then try to see if I move these parts to there. Ah, okay, good. Yeah. So there we have this one curve, and only because I set use the tangent align, I can easily rebuild this now on the other side. There and there. Click OK. And say tangent align there and there. And I have exactly the same profile. And you see now there's also now my filled area. So this is pretty good. Now I can select this one and maybe move it a little bit further up. This is maybe a little bit too much in the inside, this in the front. And you see this is actually uneven, so let's see what's going on. This is not horizontally aligned, so let's do that. And no, this is fine. Maybe to make sure that this is all correct, let's do the same there. See, these points are symmetry, so we don't have to add another symmetry constraint. And there. Let's stop sketch. Let's take a look what we have, and it looks pretty good. Maybe let's show the pipes. So what could we do now? Well, maybe we could try to see and extrude this one up but as a new body first, please. And then you see these holes there are actually ignored. So inside my sketch here in the back, I want to include these elements there. Sometimes hiding then the bodies and then showing them helps. How much did we bring this up? 1.5 inches. No, this is too much. 2.5. Let's say maybe something like this for the moment is fine. Okay. This is a very basic block, but it can give us an idea maybe how this could look like. Okay, maybe this is good. We start running into an issue here because the main reason why I build it this way is maybe the pipes we can use to later remove its material from there as well. So let's see what we can do in addition. Well, what happens if we taper this a little bit? Can we taper? Will this be okay or too much? We're running in a small issue there, so unfortunately this is not the best idea. Let's go maybe back to the sketch, because I feel like this transition I have here is a little bit too much, so I bring this over there and there. And maybe this one I will pull a little bit, so you see I'm bending actually this arc. Click OK. Yeah, this is a little bit better. Okay, and this is still also there, not really ideal. So what else could I do? I would have to see if maybe I, instead of using the circle where, because I built in already a small gap, I will extrude actually this small area here in addition. And this is properly what I will do right now for a test. So let's hide all these parts. There, select this area and select this area. Click OK. And show everything. And yeah, see there now it intersects a little bit more. So with this done, basically, just to give you a small preview, we could select this one, we could select this one, cut it away, and then you see there we have the gap for the pipe, for example, to fit. This is a pretty complicated transition here right now, which is why in this exercise I actually simplified this a lot, but this is kind of like the way how we could, for example, build it. And this would be a perfect fit. I could also make one pipe that's a tiny bit bigger, so when we remove the material from this part, then actually we have a small tolerance built in. Okay, good. So this kind of still looks not very nice because the way how everything is cut. So maybe we want to create a little bit of curvature to it. So maybe to the back it should go down, to the front it should arc. So how could we maybe do this? Well, let's create a sketch first from the side. There is the spline tool, and I will try to draw maybe something like this. And then I will adjust all these points so they stay inside the object. There, maybe like this. A little bit of curvature. Okay, good. Now this could work. So, and then maybe with the next one, how could we do this? Let's say we will plane along path. click this one, and I push it to the back. And I will do the same and maybe push it to the front. So why did I do this? Well, I will actually now create two sketches. So one sketch maybe in the front, and I will again make myself a small symmetry line, and then let's create a spline, symmetry the spline to the symmetry line, and then this one I bend very gentle. Maybe this way. So this is actually convex. The same I could do on the back. Let's draw a line. And then symmetry this to there. And this one actually we will keep concave. So now we should, I hope, actually have everything we need to create a loft. So we do loft from this one to this one. Oh, we had a point selected, so click the axis, nothing selected. So this one to this one. And then guide is actually a center line, and that will be this one. Okay. So let's take a look what we have, and you see it actually slices through our object. Okay. So the trick is now to adjust everything so it looks nice and good. So maybe this point here has to go down more so that my surface really runs through it. Maybe this point here has to go down even more. Or maybe actually for the back here I leave it where it is, so this gets a little bit flatter. Okay, here I have a lot of material, so I can build this up a little bit. Yeah, maybe like this. Okay, good. So this is going to be now a split surface, kind of like trimming or so. So split body. We split this body via this surface. Let's cross fingers. This is all however should work. Where's the other original object? There. Let's take this off. And let's take a look what we have, and there you see the whole top area is nicely arced. So see, and that's the way how you do it. Again, in manufacturing, everything has to be, and also during the designing, they all use the same approaches. How they hide actually the steps, that is always the case. Good. This is still a little bit not very good, so in that case, to be honest, I will refine this. So let's say this is, I want to rename everything first. So seat top, and this is actually let's say maybe spine, seat trim spine, and then this is actually trim front profile, and this is our trim back profile. I'm also currently modeling everything just without considering components. Now this is actually a different component, so I could build as a different component as well. So, and then this is pretty good. And now at this point maybe we can move down a little bit. And There you see, that took care of it. Now this area is nicely split as well. So this gets a little bit skinny here because, however, we built everything here from the construction plane. We could lower this, but yeah, I think we should do that because it has this intersection here. I was just thinking, well, what happens if maybe can we, for example, extrude it down? But if we extrude it down, you see, I will have another smaller gap in there. So if I do it, at least I have to be able to get an area in there to extrude that also includes a volume in the pipe, so I can cut it out. So maybe let's try to do that, and then you will see what I was talking about. Let's hide everything, okay, and let's zoom in there. And you know what, at this point I will probably just delete this one. I thought I might need it, but it didn't turn out as necessary. So I do not want this whole pipe to be extruded, so I will actually cap the sketch by adding just 2 lines there. Can adjust this a little bit even more if I want to, or I could, let's say, if I want the surface to flow nicely to there, I could also go ahead and, for example, try to do something like this to kind of like make this curve look like it's flowing into these areas. And I will just leave it at this for simplicity, getting this done a little bit faster in time. Okay, good. So this all looks pretty nice. I want to check something there. This looks a little bit flattish, but okay, well, let's keep it. So I want to select all these pipes and hide them. So now I can see actually the extrusion I have. This actually, there you see, works pretty good. This is quite nice. I could actually, if I want, you see here, this line probably comes from this, and I will do the following. So this simply should only be a reference, but not really an actual piece of geometry that could be used for the solid command. So I turned them all simply into construction lines. So I cleaned up the design a little bit, I hope. Let's go back to the extrude command. Let's delete this. Click one time and you see now I get much nicer edges there. These other edges are gone. Perfect. So that's good. This area here is still flat, but this is inside my pipe, so I can at the moment get away with it. And let's hide the sketches, and I want to see where's one pipe. There. Okay. So I could go ahead and say you extrude how much down. I see you can actually extrude it a lot down. There. How is it looking from the front? Okay. So this one we turn off because we don't really want to join those together. But this extrusion I want to join to that part. Click OK. There. This is much, much better now. Okay, nice. So what would be the next step we could do? Well, this we now have to trim. So in this case, this minus the pipe, but keep the pipe, please. So this is gone. So you know, there we have this nice detail removed. And this is now a big solid block, but you know, inside the, not inside, you know that with the piece we have inside the studio, the lower part is actually hollow. So what can we do to do that? I don't think I showed you so far the shell command. This is a pretty nice command. When you have a solid in a flat area, we can click this one and say maybe 3 millimeters. And based on, now there it did it. If the geometry is very complex, this command can fail. And that's not because it's Fusion, but because this is actually a really very tricky task. There's a lot of math that actually has to be considered. Which is another reason why I try to simplify and clean up the surface. But then when it works, you see this is actually pretty nice. So it cores out your object and then adds a wall thickness to it. However, I would like to have a fillet radius on top. So ideally we could fillet this now, but then we would thin out the edges. So we maybe want to do this rounding actually after we did some adjustments here first. So let's say 2 millimeters, maybe 3. Okay. What happens when we add actually those edges to it? We also have different edge types. Maybe like, let's use this one. Okay, so this is now nice and round on top. So let's see what the fillet command will tell me. I made now the object a lot more complicated, and see, it actually told me that there are some issues. So let's see maybe if it's just the distance. What about I say 2 millimeters? Can you do that? Okay, that works. 2.8 works. 9 works, as it seems. What about 3? Okay, you see 3 doesn't do it. Let's go with 2.9. Okay. This is also particularly a task engineering will take care of. However, I still want you to be aware of such restrictions, which is why we do a very simplified version of this. Okay, good. I would like to see all my pipes because, well, you know, we need to have some sort of a construction or something for our pipes to sit onto as well. Here in the back that's fine because later we would push, for example, a screw through there and then bolt it on. But here we need to have some sort of a socket where this one actually can go into. So what would be a way to do this? So let's take a look from here. So there we have these pipes. Okay. So curiosity is if we couldn't just extrude out of this part we have like a cylindrical shape, and then we cut the volume of the pipe out. And that actually seems to be probably the most logical part to do. This one here actually I would like to remove. We don't need it anymore. This one we can remove as well. That's not needed anymore. So let's take a look and rotate a little bit the view we have. Okay, so how and where do we position them? I will actually try to do it this way. So I will indeed create a new construction plane, so it's simply centered. and I will try to get it a little bit close, maybe like there. Let's make a new sketch. We can hide those. This is, for example, leg support seat. And let's go to intersect. I would like to know where, for example, these pipes are. Okay, so now I see that. Perfect. And maybe I would like to also have an intersection with my seating shell. So intersect this surface, and this surface. I don't really have to do the other side as well, because one side is really sufficient, because we can mirror it over anyway later. So let's clean this up. And there I see now kind of like what I have. Perfect. So we can create a circle somewhere. And I make the circle a little bit bigger. And obviously now I have to be careful that I do not make the circle so big that it sticks out. So to be sure, I will show me this outer edge and this outer edge in addition. So there, I'm close. Okay, good. This is also not really centered. So let's see. This is a pipe command. So I don't know if this is, it looks like a circle, but I'm not sure if this is a perfect circle. So we could do something like this. So we simply try to get this as centered as possible around the circle. Yeah, maybe like this. Okay, and these edges here, however, are not really very good. So we will tackle this in another step. Okay, there we have now these parts. Oh, let's go back, because again, all this stuff, I do not want to interfere with my modeling. So let's make those into construction lines. So the beauty is now is we can take this and, for example, we don't cut, we simply extrude it till it goes in. But you see, at one point I just simply cut through. Shoot, so what would I do? Well, we can go to join, and then in terms of distance, we simply say to object, and then it asks me what object, this one. Tool body creation failed. To the surface. Then maybe it's because of the smaller fillet there in the center. Huh. Okay. So basically what this command does, you can extrude something so it extrudes and touches a surface. The surface doesn't have to be planar. But it seems like here in this case, I don't know if maybe do I have to include those? Ah, there it is. I needed to include these fillets. And there you see now it extrudes it only as far so it goes through the individual surfaces. So pretty perfect. We can also do a simple two sides. And for the second one, I pull this one down. So that's a normal distance. This is side 2, and so side 1 and side 2 here, to object there, this and there, holding the command key. Come on. And shift. Oh no, it doesn't do it. I can do this with 2. Let's see. To you. Okay. Maybe we just have to break it up into 2 steps. We can do another extrude, or we should be able with a press pull, for example, move this one up a little bit. I could, for example, move it till there. Okay, the longer this part is, the more material the other pipe has to sit in, and the more stable it is. Let's click OK. There, perfect. Good. So, where do we have a pipe? There. So this pipe now we will cut out of the shell. And there it is. You see, now we have the opening. And we can, for example, I think, mirror just these features over. So extrude the offset and the boolean along this plane. Click OK, cross fingers. Nope, it doesn't work. Okay, let's try this again. What about we just say U and U across this plane? Does that work? No, it also doesn't work. Okay, so what will we do? Not a big deal. Then we can simply go into the sketch. We make another line, create ourselves a mirror line. There. All these actually I can delete. I don't really need them. Mirror this one across this line. There, I have the other one. Stop sketch. View, and I think now if we go to double click this feature, profile, should be able to add this to it. Some profiles failed to create the creation. Let's see, I'm not sure if maybe that is the problem. So U and shift this one. Let's see, yeah, it doesn't do it. Okay, well, I guess then maybe we simply have to go, unfortunately, one by one. I'm always trying to automate the commands there. That one worked. Then let's go to this side. We could do that, but now I just realized, hey, this is actually a symmetrical object. So before I do all this stuff here again and again and again, you know what? We can actually probably split this body there, and this area we remove, and then we mirror this one over this plane there, and then we stitch them back together. Join, don't keep, okay. And there it is. So that was actually a smarter way to do it. And we can delete actually this in the sketch. Great. No, because this is actually mirrored, whatever I adjust here will later be reflected, obviously, to the mirror side. So this is actually pretty good. Okay, nice. So this is a nice surface, but we would sit on it. There could be some issues in terms of stability. So the last feature I would like to show you for this part, we don't necessarily have it the same way in the chair we have in the studio, but we can do a variation to it, is we need to add some structure. So in case we sit on it, this area doesn't deform too much. So how could we do that? And for that, we create kind of like a web, which are basically lines, and then we say along these lines, extrude walls with a thickness and join them with the geometry. So We can do this actually on the same construction plane. Seat shell there. Let's create a sketch. Oh, did this one? No, this did not get created on the correct plane, I think. Or it is actually. Oh, okay, shoot. Hold on 1 second. Nah, that is actually the... No, this is not the one. Oh, we offset the surface. Yeah. Okay, good. That was my fault. I forgot that step, that actually the whole seat we later extended a little bit. So we can just offset another plane. And for example, this one I will sink in a little bit to there, so it intersects. Great. And then new sketch, now onto this plane. Let's take a look. And can, for example, make a very simple line to line, another line to line, and maybe a line there, and a line there. Let's say line. This is actually not what I want. I want this one to be this way, and then this point to there, so it's centered. Now again, I can do symmetries. Perfect. And see, for the symmetries, actually I did it on the lines and not actually on the points. That's not also what I wanted. So let's delete also all those there and say symmetry, point, point, symmetry line, point, point, symmetry line, and point, point, symmetry line, point, point, symmetry line. So now I can just work on one side, and I know exactly that on the other side the point will line up, because again everything is a nice symmetrical object. And you see I will just move this point a little bit in the surface. Let's go up maybe to there. Select this one and maybe move this one down to there. Stop and stop. Okay, and now we have this look. Okay, so these lines I can now use with the web command. Maybe for the moment select one, so we can give this a little bit of a distance. Now this actually goes the wrong direction. Flip direction, bang, and there it went right down. So maybe 2 millimeter material thickness if we want, or let's say 4 millimeters. And then on the Mac, I hold the command key. I can add this one to it. I can add those one to it. And you see the sketch has to intersect a little bit with these walls. So the software can then, when it creates these webs, calculate where the geometry of these walls would intersect with the shell, and then it joins it together. Click OK. And there we are. Click, 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 click. Perfect. And you see, there is now our finished chair.